Welcome back to the 65th episode of the BatChums podcast. I'm Drew Leiter, and joining me tonight is my co-host, the man, the myth, the new legend, Mike Gordon.
Howdy, Drew.
Hey,
Hey,
who's all these extra people? What's all this monkeying around going on?
hey, it's the Monkeeing Around folks. Joining us again, Charles and Elaine. Welcome back to the show.
Hey, hey. Thanks for having us on.
Thank you.
That's sort of like inherent, right? Hey,
Right.
hey, like that. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
very cool. Well, we're glad to have you back with us. And of course, for those people watching, you guys joined us previously for our episode with a two-parter with the Penguin
hmm
when the Paul Revere and the Raiders were on. But we thought it would be kind of fun because we've got another, this time a British band or import artists joining us for this episode. So very 60s-ish. So we will get into more about them as the recap and review gets started. But I think before we start, I guess, are you guys familiar with this two-parter? Have you ever seen this two-parter?
Yes, I
I
had
have
seen it before, but not for a very long time.
Hmm.
I had never seen it,
Right.
so
Well,
it
Elaine,
was new for me.
when we talked last time, the whole series was completely new to you, right? You just hadn't watched any of
Correct.
them. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we had started watching it because we have the box set, so I may have seen the first two or three episodes at some point, but then we stopped watching it because we started watching other things and we never went back to it. So
Well,
that's it.
here we are, and we are in the middle of season two. So, yeah, a few episodes after the Penguin got not elected as mayor of Gotham. So, Drew, I guess it's time to recap, and as we can review it.
All right, so this is Batman Season 2, Episode 29, The Cat's Meow. Episode aired Wednesday, December 14th, 1966. So we're starting to get close to Christmas here.
We're getting close to 67. Pretty
Yep.
soon, it's going to be Batman 67.
This was directed by James B. Clark and written by our buddy Stanley Ralph Ross. We keep
Yeah.
seeing his name pop up recently.
And that's just going to continue. Like I said, more Stanley Ralph Ross wrote more episodes of Batman than anybody else. So we're going to really start seeing his influence. Um, he wrote all three stories so far. This is actually Catwoman's only her third appearance in the show.
Oh, wow.
Well, I shouldn't say that. This is her third story. She actually
Ah,
makes an
Okay.
appearance in another episode. And of course, she's in the movie. It's not this Catwoman. It's not Julie Newmar's Catwoman, but she's in the movie as well. But as far as the show goes, with Julie Newmar and the stories goes, yeah, this is Stanley Ralph Ross wrote all three of them so far. And I don't know, you guys might know this already, but Stanley Ralph Ross wrote two episodes of season two of The Monkees.
oh,
He wrote
Okay.
Monkeys Marooned and The Wild Monkeys.
Okay.
well, that's something to
So
look forward to.
yeah, I was gonna say I'm not sure where you guys are in your reviews for the series, but yeah.
We've
So
been going
he.
for like 2.5 years. I think we're on episode like 10.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mike, I
um,
got a question for you.
yeah,
The Ma Parker episode where Catwoman makes a special appearance, was that written by Stanley Ralph Ross?
it was not. I
It was
looked that
not.
up. I looked that
Okay.
up to see if he had written that too, but he did not, as far as I could tell. So yeah. So Catwoman just makes a brief appearance in episode two of that, I think. But yeah, so it's really brief. And as you mentioned, Drew, this is directed by James B. Clark. He directed 15 episodes of the series, because so we've seen
Wow.
him before direct some of his directorial efforts. I don't think we talked about the directors enough. There's not a lot of information on them. Some of them are guys who have directed movies, other TV, of course, stuff like that. But yeah. Also, wanted to point out too, before we get too deep in the story, in this set of episodes, Julie Newmar is credited as the Catwoman in the opening, and just as Catwoman without the at the end credits.
Hmm.
This will be this storyline is the final time that the character is going to be credited on screen as the Catwoman.
Okay.
Yeah. So that has been the case for all the other times she appeared, including the movie, even though
Wow.
there's more than one actress that has played Catwoman at this point.
Right.
So, but all subsequent episodes from here on out, yeah, on further on, we'll just credit her as Catwoman, not the Catwoman. So, and how familiar are you guys with Julie Newmar?
I love Julie
But,
Newmar.
yeah.
Not familiar enough, I'll say, but no, I'm a big fan of Julie
Same,
Newmar.
same.
She appeared on The Monkey. She appeared on Star Trek. She appeared on Little Abner. She appeared on Batman, obviously. And then, I grew up watching Batman and reruns. And then when I got the Blu-ray set, when it finally came out, I was watching it with my daughter, but my daughter would only watch Catwoman episodes. So those are the episodes of Batman that I'm the most familiar with, or I've seen the most recently.
Interesting. Was there one particular Catwoman, or did she like all of the actresses that play?
Really, it's Julia Newmar, but
Yeah.
that's the Catwoman that she knows.
Gotcha.
But I mean, she wouldn't have been upset if Eartha Kitt was Catwoman.
Yeah, yeah. Um, it is, yeah, things change, of course, when, we haven't gotten there yet. That's third season, but things will
Oh,
change
sorry for the
once.
spoilers.
Yeah, I know, right? But it's sometimes so difficult to avoid them.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, so Julie Newmar, this is the last time she'll be credited as the Catwoman. She'll just be just a Catwoman from now on, I guess.
Which is actually more fitting, it seems like, because there's three.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah, yeah. And then there's been plenty since then. But
Right.
to your point, Charles, she's my favorite as well, and I think she defined the character really, because every actress that took the role since she originated it has done something Julie Newmar-esque with it.
Right.
So, and she was in a lot of musicals and movies prior to her TV career as well. So she's very accomplished beyond just being the Catwoman.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
for our purposes here, she's the Catwoman.
7 a.m. KGC TV. Bruce Wayne and Dick Grayson are being interviewed on the Harry Ups morning show. Bruce is explaining how the Wayne Foundation is supporting and supplementing local recreational activities for use.
I
Harry,
should point out that Harry Ups is a play on Hugh Downs,
Mm.
who at the time was the uh, host of the morning show on
The Today Show, wasn't it?
I think it was one of the Today Show or Good Morning. Yeah, one of those morning shows. It is not Hugh Downs that's playing him here, but it is
Yeah.
the name is a play on that. So
Harry pardons himself for a 60-second break and a word from their sponsor, Stay Dry Umbrellas. While Harry is promoting the umbrellas, Catwoman sneaks into the studio. She holds up a device and presses a button. Suddenly, Harry has lost his voice. Catwoman lifts her black veil, smiles, and then quietly disappears without being spotted, which I thought was crazy because she's like right next to the camera. How can Harry not see her?
I thought he was staring right at her, actually. Yeah. She's like a cat, dude. Like she slinks in, she slinks out without anybody knowing.
Yep, just like a cat. Harry opens the umbrella and little pieces of paper go flying out like confetti. Bruce and Dick are both surprised that Harry has lost his voice. Dick thinks it's the work of one of their arch enemies. Bruce covers his microphone with his hand. An umbrella usually means Penguin is waddling around somewhere.
So at least Bruce is cognizant of the fact that they're on television and they've got microphones in front of them to
Yeah.
sort of cover it before they start talking like Batman and Robin.
Yeah.
Dick does not care whatsoever.
Right.
Not that it should make any difference either way, but I did think it was kind of funny that Adam was like, "Yeah, I'm going to cover this mic because it's not a good idea for us to talk like this."
Dick picks up one of the little pieces of paper and discovers a riddle on it. What is black and white and full of fuzz? Bruce guesses a zebra, but Dick tells him no, it's a squad car. This is the second time we've seen Dick tell him no in the last couple episodes. Because
Oh,
It was a
wasn't it
shame
during the
episode.
Penguin? Oh, it was the shame episode. That's
Yeah,
right.
I think, yeah, it was during the shame episode where he was like, yeah, he was like, no. And at the time, Bruce was like, what did you just say to me? Like, I thought he was going to get a spanking. But he did not. That would have been even too weird for this show.
Yeah.
But
Is that why we have that famous drawing of Batman smacking Robin?
that meme that is
Yep.
everywhere all the
Yes.
time. Yeah. It would have been something like that, of course. But yeah, this is we've always seen that Robin kind of is quicker than Bruce to get the clues or the riddles. But I just thought that it was Bruce just sort of entertaining or letting Dick have his like chance to do that. That he could
Mm.
solve him, and he solved him already, but he was just letting Dick have his moment. But here he's just shut down, like no, like it's like okay, all right.
Bruce tells Dick that Commissioner Gordon watches this program and should be calling him any minute. Bruce and Dick hightail it out of the studio without a word to the staff. They just peace out.
It would have been funny if they went down they went down the outside of the building. We might
Would
have
we have
got
gotten a cameo from Walter Cronkite?
I mean, who knows? We've got this two-parter is full of cameos and
Yeah.
different and people in it. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on in this, but yeah. So anyway, yeah, they peace out.
Back at Wayne Manor, Alfred is on the phone with Commissioner Gordon when Bruce and Dick hurry into the study. Batman tells Commissioner Gordon he was watching the show and saw the whole affair. Commissioner Gordon states that a criminal has to get up pretty early to outwit you, Batman.
How how long did Commissioner Gordon wait to call Alfred? Because because he's still on the phone with Alfred when they arrive. And, granted, they're not in the Batmobile because it's just Bruce and Dick, right? So,
Yeah.
so it must have taken them some time to get to Wayne Manor. But
Either
so,
that or Alfred's good at stalling.
yeah, well, he's had a lot of practice at it. That's for sure.
Forgive me if I'm remembering this out of order, but is this the bit where Alfred tells him that he's Master Wayne is taking his morning constitutional?
Yes, I believe it is. And I was like, oh my goodness. Does that mean what I think it means?
Keep on the phone for a good 15 minutes that way.
Batman wants Commissioner Gordon to check on the whereabouts of the Joker, Penguin, and the Riddler. They will meet him in his office as soon as possible. To the bat poles. And yes, the Bruce and Dick signs are on the poles.
I do like the fact that Catwoman it doesn't last very long. Unfortunately, I thought it was going to like play out that it was going to last a little bit longer than it does. But she sort of clouds the water, muddies the water, right? Like to make them think it's like one of the others. Now, it would have been more helpful if they had been actually like available, like if they were not in jail,
At large.
incarcerated.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, at large.
Yeah. It's a pretty good misdirection, though, because the Batman
Yeah.
villains tend to have such iconic paraphernalia,
Yes.
that yeah, I mean, it makes a lot of sense to just throw an umbrella and a riddle in there and throw them off your trail.
Absolutely. I thought that was pretty cool. Like I said, I wish it lasted a little bit longer,
Mhm.
but yeah, because she pretty much lets the cat out of the bag pretty quickly after this.
At Commissioner Gordon's office, the blue umbrella is their only clue. The umbrella is ordinary except for a small shocking device, but hardly enough for Harry to lose his speech. Commissioner Gordon reports that Joker, Penguin, and Riddler are all three in jail. Batman decides to take the umbrella back to the Batcave for further investigation.
By the way, I love how neither Charles nor Elaine, even though, they are not as steeped in this Bat show as much as we are not surprised at all that Catwoman has a device that can just steal people's voices.
Right.
They're just like, nope, that's just what this show does.
Yeah.
Yep.
We had an episode not too long ago where Joker could control time, and we've had other powerful devices, I
Mm,
think, this season. Not to say that the original, like the first season, was grounded at all, but they were not out as outlandish, the devices,
right.
I
Yeah.
felt like. They were more the crimes and the things that they were doing were more like robberies and even murders and stuff like that, or attempted murders or kidnappings, that kind of thing. This season they've really kind of upped the game, and I think Stanley is part of that. I think he's in
Mm,
introducing a lot of episodes where the villains are getting more and more creative. I mean, especially after the movie, right? The movie sort of
mm,
establishes that anything goes on this show. I mean,
right.
if you can reduce people to, to
Powder.
powder.
And then reconstitute them.
Yes, which which I do know that we saw in Star Trek. So
Mm,
it's a thing. It's a thing.
true.
True.
After Batman leaves, Commissioner Gordon tells Chief O'Hara that he doesn't believe there has been or ever will be two such selfless people. Chief O'Hara, Chief O'Hara adds that they have made his job a whole lot easier. Commissioner Gordon thinks that if he'd ask, Batman would give him the cape off his back.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Like, Hera has the understatement of the century. Well, they've sure made my job a lot easier. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
That is an understatement. But they're always funny. They're always fun, and they always do these things where they sort of actually, I don't think we've had Gordon like look straight at the camera
Mm.
and say this stuff, but he is usually prone to do that, where he just looks at the camera and is like, "What would we do without them?"
Our jobs.
His exactly. Uh, what did he call them in last episode, Drew, or a couple episodes ago? The mixed blessing or their blessings or whatever. Like
His blessings or something like
yeah,
that.
it was just
Yeah.
like even Batman, even in Batman and Robin were kind of uncomfortable with that. They were like,
The phone rings and Bonnie informs Commissioner Gordon that Catwoman is here to see him. Delighted, Commissioner Gordon tells Bonnie to send her in. Catwoman, now reformed, is going into show business. She introduces her band, Eeny, Meeny, Miny, and Mo, aka Catwoman and the Kittens. Commissioner Gordon asks if they will perform at the police benevolence ball, and she agrees.
so we have here, Catwoman has a new crew. I don't think any of
Mhm.
these are, even though the outfits are very similar. She's got three guys and a mall for the first time. She
Hmm.
like Catwoman has never had another like woman as part of her crew before.
Mm.
This is a new now almost every other Batman villain has a mall, has a woman alongside them to explain things to actually.
Yeah.
So Eni is the woman, is the mall.
Mhm.
She's played by Sharon Winters. She's a former Miss World model. She did some acting here and there. She doesn't have a huge amount of credits. I think the only thing that I saw that I might have seen her in was I think in the 70s there was a Westworld series for like half a season, and I think she appeared in a couple episodes of that.
Mm.
And I don't know why, but for some reason Eni's voice is really obviously dubbed in
Mm.
like this whole show. I don't know why Sharon's voice wasn't good enough or whatever, but yeah. Meanie is played by TJ Costronovo. Again, not a lot of credits. Minnie is played by Chuck Henderson. Did not appear in much as all as in much as all that I could tell in his credit in his IMDb page. And this is his final role. This is the last thing he does. He um, was alive until like I think the 80s, but this was his final role in the industry. And then finally, Mo is he's probably the one that people would see if you're familiar with film noirs of the 40s, 50s, westerns. You might have seen Rick Roman, who plays Mo. He's in 4 episodes of Disney's Zorro from 1958. He's in 3 episodes of The Lone Ranger from 1949. And he's in 2 episodes of The Adventures of Superman
Oh.
from that ran from 53 to 56. So this is not his first foray into the DC universe.
Mm.
He is tangled with Superman.
Catwoman asks Commissioner Gordon if Batman knows she is out of jail. Commissioner Gordon states that with this morning's incident, it completely slipped his mind. Catwoman asks Commissioner Gordon to keep it their secret for now. Batman will learn about it soon enough. That ain't suspicious. As Catwoman is leaving, she blows a kiss to Commissioner Gordon and Chief O'Hara, telling them until they meet again, here's a kiss to build a dream on. After Catwoman leaves, Chief O'Hara wonders if Catwoman could be the cause of all the commotion this morning. Commissioner Gordon scoffs, stating he can tell a reformed woman when he sees one. Sure you can.
I think he's using a very loose definition, or maybe it's a double entendre for the word reformed. Because yeah, he is for lack of a better word, he is smitten.
Yeah, I was gonna say that really did kind of boggle my mind a little bit. I'm like, she just got out of prison, and you're gonna have her play at the. Okay, go ahead then. Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, and Batman's like, hey, who's in jail? Oh, those guys are in jail? Yeah, might want to mention that, oh, Catwoman is not.
Yeah.
In fact, she's waiting in the hall, apparently.
You know,
Because it's like,
Yeah.
I'll take this umbrella away to see if I can figure out who's behind this. Okay, great. Hey, come on in, Catwoman.
you know, there were 4 members that formed a league to kill you in the movie. 3 of them are in jail. One of them is not.
Yeah.
Might want to be on your radar.
Right.
Not that he shouldn't know anyway, because we saw in the last couple episodes that he is fully aware. He's got like the roster of everybody who's in the penitentiary, and he's got a direct line to the warden. So he should know who's in and out of the
Right.
penitentiary. So very strange. Yeah. Sometimes I think Drew and I get really surprised when there is continuity, when they do mention things that have happened in previous episodes and they build on those because we don't expect it. And because so many things like this show that they don't really care.
Mm.
In Catwoman's lair, adjoining Duncan's dance studio, Catwoman explains to Enid that they stole the announcer's voice to distract Batman while they prepare for their own caper. Catwoman calls Commissioner Gordon and learns that the world's most popular singing duo, Chad and Jeremy, will be staying at Wayne Manor. They are to be performing at the policeman's ball also. Catwoman is able to get the information out of Commissioner Gordon because she doesn't want to use the same songs they are.
Totally logical.
Mhm.
Totally logical for rationale for why you would want to give up secret information like that to a reformed
Right.
villain. Makes sense. As they pointed out a couple of episodes ago, this is bat logic.
Yeah.
Using her device, Catwoman steals Commissioner Gordon's voice also.
Over the phone. It
Mhm.
works over the phone. So that's pretty amazing.
Right.
Yeah. So very strange.
Yes. At Wayne Manor in Bruce's study, the phone rings and Dick answers it. The woman on the phone tells Dick that he can win a free dance lesson at the Duncan Dance Studio if he answers a simple question. Didn't we see something similar to this recently, Mike?
Something. No, I don't know. I can't think of this.
I'm
Seems
trying. I know it seemed familiar. Like I remember Dick answering the phone for something like this before.
gotcha. I meant to ask you, Drew. Have you seen this one before?
It seemed vaguely familiar, so I think I have.
Gotcha. Okay.
Because I didn't recognize anything until we got to the cliffhanger.
Gotcha.
Mm.
Gotcha.
And
Okay.
that's felt familiar. And I was like, oh, I might have seen this one before.
There are parts of this story that I do remember from even when I was a kid. So when we get to those, I will mention them. I will point them out. But yeah, this one I had definitely seen before and remembered.
Dick tells the woman that he is not interested. He's about to hang up when Bruce interrupts, reminding him that the junior prom is coming up and he doesn't want him to be a wallflower. The woman asks Dick who painted Whistler's mother. Dick answers Whistler, of course. She congratulates Dick and tells him she will be right over for his lesson. Bruce tells Dick he needs to run into town to the electronics store. He needs a new tube for the bat sound analyzer. That he can't they can't make a move without it. Bruce should be back in an hour. Miss Klutz gives Dick Grayson dancing lessons as Aunt Harriet and Alfred watch. Dick thinks she is more interested in the layout of Wayne Manor than giving him dancing lessons.
We find out some really cool information about Stately Wayne Manor here. It has
Hmm.
14 bathrooms, 18 bedrooms, and they don't correct her. And it has 3 entrances and exits, which seems like a fire hazard to me.
Yeah.
If you've got 18 bedrooms, that's a lot of people to try to get in and out of 3 exits. And I'm assuming they're not counting the exit to the Batcave as one of those. I don't know. I don't think Dick would be so presumptuous to be like, oh yeah, let's see, we've got the front door, the back door, and then the Batcave.
Taking a break from dance lessons, Miss Klutz asks what kind of flowers are on the table. Dick answers dogwood. Miss Klutz states she is allergic to dogwood and then sneezes. Her disguise falls off, and Dick realizes she is Catwoman. Aunt Harriet faints. Catwoman throws a gas pellet. Red smoke envelops the room, and Catwoman escapes while Dick and Alfred pass out.
Alfred is gassed again.
Again.
Mm.
Alfred gets gassed like every other episode. This time, though, he's gassed with Aunt Harriet and Master Grayson. Master Dick, I think Alfred refers to him as, which is not that's new. We have not seen that before. But Alfred's just like every time a gas pellet goes off, Alfred just would be like, not again. And the actor must be like, because that smoke never looks like it's healthy to inhale. Back in the 60s, I'm sure it wasn't.
Right.
At Gotham City Airport, have no fear. England's singing sensation, Chad and Jeremy are here.
Woo woo.
All right.
Catwoman,
So let's talk about Chad and Jeremy. Chad Stewart and Jeremy Clyde.
Mhm.
Before we get to our Monkeeing Around folks to help us figure out who these two are, these singing sensations from the UK. Drew, have you ever heard of these guys before?
I had never heard of them before, but when I went to check out their music, their one of their songs sounded familiar, so I'm guessing I've heard it before.
I am not familiar with them either.
Okay.
It's
You've
so
probably heard a
it's
summer song.
Yeah, that was the song. When I played that song, I was like, that sounds familiar. So I think I've heard it before.
so Charles and Elaine, tell us what you know about Chad and Jeremy.
Yeah, they were part of the British invasion, and they were more folky than a lot of the rock groups of the British invasion. But I mean, they sort of rode that wave, and they actually did a surprising number of TV guest spots on like the Dick Van Dyke Show and Patty Duke, and then Batman. Um, People are probably familiar with the summer song, and if you've seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood or listened to the soundtrack, you've probably heard Paxton Quigley's "Had the Course," which is also a Chad and Jeremy song. And I've actually seen Jeremy Clyde live. He was on the
Wow.
Flower Power cruise, and I follow him on Facebook. He's been doing this long project where he's all of his songs that he never recorded, he's sort of his bottom drawer sessions, he calls them. He's up to like 10 or 12 volumes of that he's been putting out, and he does live performances on Facebook all the time.
Oh, that's
Oh.
cool. I was aware of them because my mom was a big fan of
Mm.
them back in the 60s. She really liked Chad and Jeremy, and I really liked the episode of the Patty Duke show they were on because that was one of my favorite shows to watch on Nick at Night. So I had seen that one. I've been aware of who they were for a long time. So,
Right.
Gotcha.
and a lot of their songs are familiar to me.
Mm.
So,
Yeah,
yeah.
I must admit they're just like a big hole in my like I just was like, at the time I think I just thought they were made up from and then
Mm.
maybe a made up band for the for the show. Because this is we saw Paul Revere and then even though they said they were Paul Revere, they didn't really do a lot in the
Right.
episode that we reviewed with the Penguin. Um so I wasn't familiar with them, but yeah, looking up their information here, I was amazed that or they found they I guess they came to the United States in 1964 from the UK, cashing in, as you mentioned, on the British invasion.
Mm.
And even though they were kind of different from the Beatles, the Who, Rolling Stones, and all those sort of blues rock, they're more folky. And their first single, the first American single, was Yesterday's Gone, hit number 21 on the Billboard Hot 100 in the summer of 64. And it says here 10 more Chad and Jeremy singles would chart throughout the rest of the next year and a half, including their signature tune, A Summer Song, considered one of the quintessential British invasion songs.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, and I guess they were more popular here in the States, which is a rarity. Apparently, they did not have as many hits in the UK as they did here in the States. But because Chad was more of a musician, Jeremy was more of a stage actor. They kind of tried to do both things, where they did the pop music scene, but they also were, as you mentioned, Charles, they were on the Dick Van Dyke Show in 1965, playing a fictional singing duo called the Redcoats. And then they were on the Patty Duke Show, as you mentioned, Elaine. And I guess Patty Duke was obsessed with the young British pop stars in the episode.
Yeah.
And then that same year in 65, NBC approached Chad and Jeremy with a show that they wanted them to be in a Western called Laredo, where they played two down on luck English actors traveling through the Old West. I guess they did a pilot, and that aired on January 20th, 1966, just soon, 8 days after Batman's premiere in
Oh,
66.
wow.
But despite solid performances from both of them, NBC declined to proceed with the series. So this is about all I get. But yeah, I guess their next LPs after 66 or 67 did not do as well. I think they broke up by 1968.
Hmm.
Mhm.
So since 68 was the year I was born, the fact that I really wasn't aware of them, not really.
But I bet if you queued them up on Spotify, I bet you'd recognize several of their songs. I bet
Yeah.
you've heard them.
I don't know. I did look up some and some of them, nothing really rang like, oh my God, I
Mm.
know that song.
Okay.
Yeah, I think they were just kind of a hole in my
Okay.
viewing or listening there. But yeah, and yeah, Jeremy is still with us.
Hmm.
Chad
Mhm.
passed away, I guess, a few years ago. But yeah, Jeremy still. They said that Jeremy tours with somebody who was in another sort of UK duo.
He and Peter Asher will
Peter
perform
and
together from
Gordon.
time to time. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
so
yeah. So because Gordon and
I know
Chad are
that
both
name.
gone. Right. So Peter Asher and Jeremy Clyde will perform together from time to time.
Gotcha.
And I want to say too that I thought that Chad and Jeremy were much better represented here than Paul Revere and the Raiders were in the previous episode that we watched.
Oh,
They
by
were
far.
portrayed very beatily in their press
Sure.
conference, and they
Yeah.
actually got to perform a couple of their singles that are actually their singles. I thought they were fun.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, it was cool to see them. And yeah, they do get to sing a little bit. But yeah, this whole press conference scene that we're at now, very much inspired by things like I don't yeah, Hard Day's Night is already out, right?
Right.
So that's a
Mhm.
thing. And Beatles are doing press conferences and all that kind of. So this is very much a take on a play on that stuff,
Hmm.
and the fact that the British uh, pop icons are having fun with the questions and not really answering things and just having treating it like it's a party or whatever. Pretty much on brand
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
for that kind of thing, right? So
And the requisite jokes about their hair and things like that.
Oh yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
Catwoman and her kittens arrive at the airport, but Catwoman decides there's too many people here to pull off her caper. Holy Rip Van Winkle! Batman thinks Robin, Alfred, and Aunt Harriet would have slept for a week if he didn't administer the universal drug antidote.
Drew, we have to go back to the press conference for just a little bit because I do want to mention that we do get a sighting. The policeman who is glad that someone normal like Catwoman is there uh, is played by our guy James O'Hara again. So he pops up as a policeman quite often this season. And in the crowd, there's one of the girls that's going gaga over Chad and Jeremy is played by Judy Strangis. She's the younger sister of the show's unit production manager, Sam Stranges.
Hmm.
She would later go on to appear as the character Dinah Girl in Electro Woman and Dinah Girl from 1976.
Oh,
Uh,
So Dinah Girl's in the crowd.
nice.
Back in the Batcave, Batman states they now know who their adversary is. Using the master bat file, Batman and Robin obtain the address of the Duncan Dance Studio. Meanwhile, it is tea time for Wayne Manor house guests Chad and Jeremy. Aunt Harriet learns that Chad was a medical student and Jeremy was studying to be a lawyer. Both plan on finishing their education. Is this made up for the show or
Yes.
okay?
Yeah. From everything I looked at, yeah. Uh, like I said, Chad was always interested in music, and Jeremy was more interested in stage and acting. So, yeah, that's all complete like stuff that's made up for the show.
So Chad was going to be a heart surgeon, is what you're saying.
Not that I can tell. So I don't know if he operated on anybody. He probably broke a lot of hearts.
Mm.
Yeah,
There you
see,
go.
right
yeah,
there.
yeah.
In Catwoman's lair, Enie asks Catwoman if she is going to steal Batman's voice. Catwoman replies, never. One of the few joys Catwoman has in life is hearing Batman's rich, manly, baritone voice caress her ears with, Catwoman, you're under arrest.
So this is, like I said, the third storyline with Catwoman, and I have always had it in my head that Julie Newmar's Catwoman is always flirtatious and has a thing for Batman.
Mm.
And I was rewatching them in order as we're doing. I was sort of confused because in the first two episodes, it's not like that at all. She wants to kill
Right.
him. She really wants to kill him in that first storyline. And even the second one, she really wants to, but he saves her life at the end of the second story that they're in, and they kind of have a moment. And I'm like, this is where it begins, I think, Drew. And I said, this is where I think it begins, so because I would imagine that next time we see them, there's going to be a lot more flirting between them.
Yeah.
And boy, does that play out here. I mean, it's not subtle at all. Like she wants him bad. um, which that's the Catwoman I'm more familiar with. So,
Mm.
Yeah.
at least the Julie Newmar version. So this is where we really see that play out.
At the dance studio, Batman and Robin tell Benton Bellgoody that they would like to speak to Miss Klutz. Catwoman appears with her henchmen and a fight ensues. Catwoman and
It's not much of a fight though, really. It almost seems like they're getting kind of, I don't know how you guys are maybe fresher to this, but Drew and I have been obviously watching this for a season and a half now, and it feels like they are needing to add certain elements to fights to make them interesting now.
Mm.
Because it's not just enough to just to have a fight because it seems kind of like we've done this 100 times, right?
Yeah.
So right now, what's more interesting than the fight is actually the stuff that I think Catwoman and Enie are talking about, and how Catwoman's like, maybe I can set you up with Robin and that kind of thing, and you're too old, and
Right.
that kind of thing, and that seems to be more interesting than actually the any of the action is going on in the fight, because even
When
Catwoman's not interested. She's just like, whatever.
when I was going to say, she was just kind of sitting there, kind of like, oh, like nothing was going on in front of her, and just kind of like grooming herself, and just be like, but she was very relaxed through the whole thing too, which is weird because you think she would be rooting for somebody, and she was just like, whatever,
But I have to
going at it.
argue that's just like a cat, though.
Mhm.
True, 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 true,
True.
true,
Yeah.
Okay,
true.
okay, you do have me there, Drew. It is
Yeah,
You do have me
yeah.
there. It is more like a cat. Uh, yeah. We also should mention. I think we skipped over it because we went right to the fight. But the guy, the proprietor of the dance studio, is a character called Benton Belgoody, and he's played by Joe Flynn. Joe Flynn is a tremendous, I think, comedic actor who I remember lovingly as Captain Binghamton in McHale's Navy. That was on right before like this, 1962 to 1966. I was a
Mm.
big McHale's Navy fan
Mm.
growing up, and watching that in syndication. Love that series, and he was a great foil for McHale and his group. But he also did a lot of Disney movies after this. He's in The Love Bug, 1968. He stars in a series of movies with Kurt Russell as Dexter Riley. Kurt Russell is Dexter Riley, this teenage kid that's constantly getting into trouble,
Mm.
and Joe Flynn plays Dean Higgins in The Computer Wore Tennis Shoes, 1969. Now You See Him, Now You Don't, 1972, and The Strongest Man in the World, 1975. So,
Mm.
and he does. There's a few more Disney movies too that he does. He also does appears in a couple of. Do you like this? He also appears in a couple of Don Knotts movies.
Oh.
Yeah, I can't remember I was going to write it down too, but I can't remember the one he appears in that I was like, oh yeah, there he is. But I just think he's a great foil. He's a great fun character, and I think he's great in this. I believe it's uncredited, but I think he's just really funny in this. And I was surprised that his character tries to fight Batman and Robin as well.
And that surprised me. I kind of felt bad for him. I'm like, he shouldn't be in this fight. He's not equipped for this very well. Why is he involved? I felt bad for him.
I do love the fact though that it's sort of like when faced with Batman and Robin, it's just him left. And he's the only one left. He just goes and lies down on top of the other guys.
Yeah, they're like, they look at the pile, look at him, look at the pile, and he's like, okay, I'll go lay down. Okay.
Yeah.
Catwoman and Enie watch on the sidelines as the dynamic duo battle her henchmen. Catwoman tells Enie that if Batman wasn't such a stick in the mud, she might let him live. Catwoman states that Robin is all work and no play. She could set up Enie with Robin, but as his age, okay, that's she could set Enie up with Robin, but as his age, all he would be in. Oh, but at his age, all he would be interested in is baseball.
Not really established how young Dick is, but yeah. They kind of teeter on the fact that he's like blossoming, right? Because
Hmm.
they've mentioned before, I mean, he's actually gone on dates. We've seen him actually on a date with a girl in an episode. So we know that he's kind of getting interested in women here.
Well, they
But
mentioned the
Well,
dance earlier in this
that's
episode.
true. That's true.
junior prom, so that's going to put him like 16, 17,
Yeah,
maybe, you know.
that's that age,
Hmm.
Now, granted, you don't want to, you're trying to syndicate a show and send a message to like,
True.
to kids out there and parents and everything like that, but Yeah. But it is also apparent to me too, throughout watching this, through the three stories, that Catwoman hates Robin. I think even more so than Batman, even in the
Mm,
beginning. Like she just hates him. And she goes on hating him for various reasons, mainly because he's always in the way
mm.
Yeah.
of what she wants, which is now Batman.
After the fight, Batman asks Catwoman if she is ready to come quietly. She asks Batman if she can fix her makeup. Holy Holy Hindenburg? I, I can't even pronounce it now. I don't remember. I watched the show
Yeah,
last week.
I don't think that makes sense. I don't think a Hindenburg reference really makes sense here. I'm not sure I can't remember what holy,
I don't remember what it
holy
was either.
Heidelberg.
Heidelberg, that's what it was.
Must
Holy
be,
Heidelberg.
that must be is that do you guys get that reference? I'm not familiar with
Mm-mm.
Heidelberg.
No.
Must be some sort
No.
of makeup thing or something, right?
Yeah, probably.
Because, Robin's on it. He knows that stuff.
Yeah, he does. Catwoman drugs Batman and Robin and they fall unconscious. When Batman and Robin wake up, Catwoman has tied their hands behind their backs and removed their utility belts. She has placed them
She
in
has
a
not just
giant.
removed them, Drew. She's burned them. I think she said she like burned them, like she set fire to them.
Yeah.
She has placed them in a giant echo chamber where the sound will be magnified 10 million times. Even the breathing will sound like thunder. The trap is a variation of the famous Chinese water torture. When the machine is turned on, their eardrums will shatter and their brains will become mush. Catwoman states that Batman's intelligence may be gone, but but he will be hers forever. Zounds! What sounds? Will Batman be reduced to a handsome robot fit only to serve Catwoman? Is Robin to become little more than a cuddly teddy bear for Enid? The answer to these and other ear-shattering questions tomorrow. Same cat time, same cat channel.
Okay, a couple things here. Speaking of ear shattering, 1100 decibels is enough to destroy the entire universe. So magnifying a sound 10 million times, it would take more than the mass of the universe exploding to make that kind of noise. So, so Catwoman's got some serious hardware here, that
Yeah.
she is using here.
Seems like overkill.
It seems a little bit like overkill. Yeah. Also, Catwoman says that this is a sort of variation of Chinese water torture, which Batman has faced before. Drew,
Mm.
he faced this in season one's with King Tut. The Pharaoh's in a Rut, where he had water torture, like dripping on his head, and
That's right. I forgot about that.
he was able to battle that. Now, this is actually to the extreme, but so he should have some knowledge as to how to get out of this trap. But I don't know how they're going to play this out because it looks pretty bad sounding
Mm.
for them.
I was going to ask you, Mike, is this the first time we've seen their utility belts taken?
I don't know if it's the first time, but boy, they do kind of look naked without them, don't they?
Yeah.
You can even see kind of the Velcro, like where the buckle should be or whatever. Yeah, it does kind of look odd when they don't have them on.
Mm.
That's one thing I remembered from the show when I was younger was when they get captured, they take away their utility belts. So I was just wondering if this was the beginning of seeing this a lot more.
It's possible. I mean, certainly they've used them time and time again to get out of these traps.
Yep.
Right.
So it stands to reason that someone as smart as Catwoman would remove them. Not to mention that it would not surprise me if Julie Newmar's Catwoman to remove somebody's belts.
And Matt,
Particularly, I think her removing Batman's belt was probably something that you could not show on TV in
mm,
1966.
Probably. Yeah.
And math aside, I thought this was a pretty good like end of episode trap that they find themselves in. And I thought that was smart that she took their utility belts away. And then oftentimes in these sort of situations, you'll see like the good guys are put in the trap, and then the bad guys like Mwahaha, and then just f's off and leaves them there. But this time it actually made sense because the sound getting louder and louder, they're sort of driven out of there. So
That's
I
true.
thought it made a lot of sense.
Yeah, even she's like, this is too loud for me.
Right.
She's got those cat ears.
Right.
So
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, it was a much more believable trap than the one that we watched with for the penguin, which was just like the net over the
hanging
was
over
it
acid.
boiling water, vat of acid. It was like that just silly. This one I really was thinking, okay, how do they go hide in the cones? How do they, I mean, how do they I was really trying to figure out how they would get out of this one. So
Mm,
I liked it a lot better.
And I always have to credit Adam and Bert for selling it so well. I
right.
mean, when you look at
Mhm.
them, it looks like it's painful for them to listen to the boom boom booms,
Hmm.
like
Yeah.
it's really well done. Yeah. So they are in this scenario. So I guess we'll have to tune in next week to find out how they get out of this.
Yep.
Yep.
See if we can get Magic Batman to lower the boom.
All right. Well, that wraps up another episode. Did you have a shout out, Charles?
Yeah, I want to shout out the Earth Station Trek podcast. We go live on Thursday evenings talking about the latest Star Trek episode. I think when this airs, we'll still be talking about Strange New Worlds, which is airing its third season. And when there's no new Star Trek on, we're talking about legacy Star Trek topics, which is more and more frequently now than it has been the last few years. Also, though, the Monkeying Around podcast. Elaine, did you want to talk about that?
Oh, yes, we have a podcast that's Monkeying Around, a podcast about the monkeys, where we talk about the music, the TV show, we have guests, and we have fun monkeying around.
Now, I have to say,
And not
I
putting
did.
anybody down, right?
But
I love the episode you guys did on Earth Station Trek about Stargate because I'm a big
Oh,
Stargate fan. I'm a Star Trek fan, but I'm also a bigger Stargate fan. So,
yes. We do sometimes wander away from Star Trek a little bit and talk about some relevant other things.
Well, I mean, Star Trek is so influential that
Hmm.
almost every science fiction series or movie that's come since then has been inspired by it in some way. So
Right.
it's always nice to sort of feel out those and figure out what those threads are,
Hmm.
that connective tissue of those things. So and we try to do that with the BatChums as well, because with this show, it did influence a lot. I don't think, like we've said before, I don't think there's been any incarnation of the Catwoman that's appeared that wasn't influenced by Julie Newmar's appearance in
Right.
this.
all right. Did you want to shout out anything else, Elaine?
I would shout out. I have a Facebook page called Elaine and Matt Watch TV, and it's where I chronicle what me and my husband Matt are watching on TV. And we watch a lot of TV, and we are currently watching through season 6 of the Next Generation, Star Trek Next Generation. And when we are watching that, we are actually live commenting. So if you happen to see that post and you have comments about the episode we're watching, feel free to make your opinions known.
All right. Did you have a shout out, Mike?
I do, along with, since we'll keep it in the ESO network family, I was recently guesting on a show called the Watchathon of Wrestleon, where two fun folks named Tony and Joe have been reviewing every episode of Doctor Who from the beginning. They're kind of doing what we're doing with BatChums. They've been doing with Doctor Who, and they're now on the new Who era. So they're actually talking about David Tennant stories. They're on episode, I appeared on episode 189, which was the episode regarding my favorite two-parter of all time that has been done on Doctor Who, which is Human Nature and a Family of Blood. Great two-parter, and it was really fun to talk all about it with those two. So look for that. I don't think it should be released. I don't think it's released as we're recording this, but it should be by the time that this is released. So So keep it in the ESO network family. We're all one big happy fleet, as Khan would say.
And I'm going to shout out about Earth Station DCU because I'm excited. It hasn't happened yet. It's going to happen tomorrow. We're going to be talking about the Superman movie.
Ooh.
And checked it out this weekend. So I'm excited to talk all about that. So by the time this airs, that episode should be out. So yeah, that's my shout out. So if you want to find out what we think about the Superman movie, check that out.
All ESO.
Awesome.
All right. If you'd like to comment on anything we've talked about tonight, you can reach us at our feedback line, 317-455-8411. Leave us a message, text us, or you can email us at batchumspodcast@gmail.com. All right. You ready to get out of here, Batchum?
BatChums ready to move out?
Atomic batteries to power, turbines to speed. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week. Same cat time, same cat channel.
Don't worry. The meow is yet to come. Boom.